Okay, let's dive into some serious tech today. We're unpacking a deep comparison straight from a specific source review, pitting two giants against each other. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max.
That's right. And this isn't just a general overview. We're going purely off what this particular review found when putting these two, top-tier phones head-to-head.
And our mission in this deep dive is really to extract the most important nuggets, the key insights, maybe the surprising findings, and definitely the critical trade-offs that this source highlights. We want to help you understand what this review says about where each phone excels and ultimately, what it suggests might be worth your investment depending on what matters to you.
Exactly. We're going to walk through the source's findings, focusing strictly just on the details presented within that one review.
Perfect. Let's start where the review does by looking at how these phones are built and what they actually feel like.
Makes sense. Design first.
So first up, the displays. Both phones, according to the review, feature these large 6.9-inch screens.
Yep, pretty big.
The S25 Ultra has a dynamic AMOLED 2X display with QHD plus resolution, which, put simply, means it's incredibly sharp, lots of pixels. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate and can hit a really impressive peak brightness of 2600 nits.
That's bright.
Yeah, and the review also highlighted its anti-reflective Gorilla Armor 2 glass, noting the bezels are like 15% slimmer than the previous model, making the display just brighter and sharper overall.
Okay. And the iPhone 16 Pro Max also sports a 6.9-inch screen, a Super Retina XDR OLED, also 120 Hz refresh rate.
Yeah.
But its peak brightness, according to the source, maxes out at 2,000 nits.
Oh, okay.
And it uses Apple's second-generation ceramic shield for protection. The review mentioned it's slightly larger than its predecessor, but it also has slimmer bezels.
Right. But here's where the source really emphasized the difference. The 2600 nits on the S25 Ultra is, significantly brighter than the iPhone's 2000 nits.
Yeah, 600 nits is noticeable.
Definitely. The review pointed to this higher brightness combined with that superior anti-reflective coating on the S25 Ultra as a major advantage for outdoor visibility. That's a really practical insight from the source, I think.
Absolutely. Moving beyond the glass, the source notes both phones use titanium frames, and they both carry an IP68 rating, meaning they're highly resistant to dust and water. Pretty standard for flagships now.
True.
An interesting detail the review ticked up on, though, is the weight difference. The S25 Ultra is actually lighter at 218 grams compared to the iPhone's 227 grams.
9 grams. Okay. Not huge, but maybe noticeable over time.
Could be.
Design touches matter too, and the review compares them closely. The S25 Ultra has rounded corners, that distinctive floating camera design, and the source calls it thinner. Plus, it includes the S Pen.
Which is a big differentiator.
Exactly, though the review notes it lacks Bluetooth functionality in this iteration.
Yeah, that's a change.
The iPhone also has rounded corners, which the source suggests helps with in-hand comfort, along with the dynamic island notch replacement and a new camera control button on the side.
Now, despite the S25 Ultra being lighter and thinner, the review offered a bit of a critique here.
Oh.
It specifically called out the S25 Ultra's flat, sort of iPhone-like sides, and noted they might feel potentially sharp to some users compared to the iPhone's more comfortably beveled edges.
Interesting. So a potential comfort issue there, depending on your grip.
Maybe, yeah.
Durability is another point the source addressed. The iPhone's ceramic shield is generally described as tougher against drops.
Yeah, that's the reputation. But the review highlighted that the S25 Ultra's Gorilla Armor 2 glass showed 29% more scratch resistance in their testing.
Okay, so drop versus scratch resistance, another trade-off.
Exactly. And color options were mentioned too. The S25 Ultra apparently has a wider range, including some Samsung exclusive options, while the iPhone sticks to, titanium variations.
Gotcha. So pulling together the source's findings on design and build, the S25 Ultra seems to have the edge with a brighter, more outdoor-friendly display. It's lighter and includes the S Pen.
Right.
But the iPhone, according to the reviewer's feel, might offer a slightly more refined ergonomic experience for some hands.
Potentially.
So what this section of the review asks you, the listener, to consider is, does a super bright screen and the unique S Pen capability outweigh the possibility of a more comfortable in-hand feel?
Good question. Okay, let's shift gears and talk raw power and performance. Always crucial for flagship phones.
Definitely.
The review goes into the chips powering these devices. The S25 Ultra uses Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. It's built on a 3-nanometer process, basically meaning they can pack more power and efficiency into a tiny chip with an octa-core CPU that can boost up to 4.47 gigahertz.
And the iPhone 16 Pro Max is powered by Apple's A18 Pro chip, also a 3-nanometer, but with a hexa-core CPU running up to 4.05 gigahertz.
Now, what's fascinating is how the Source's benchmark test played out. The S25 Ultra actually pulled ahead in multi-core performance.
Really?
Yeah, scoring around 18658 in Geekbench 6 compared to the iPhone's approximately 8200. But the iPhone still held the lead in single co-tasks, hitting around 3300 compared to the S25 Ultra's 2481.
Okay. But here's a slightly counterintuitive finding from the review. Despite trailing in single-core benchmarks, the source specifically noted that in overall speed tests, the S25 Ultra significantly outperformed the iPhone.
Yeah, that was interesting. It makes you wonder exactly what kind of real-world tasks those speed tests involved that, gave the S25 Ultra the edge.
Right. It's not always just about the benchmark number.
Definitely not. The review also highlighted RAM as a key difference. The S25 Ultra comes with a healthy 12 GB of RAM.
Good amount.
With a mention of a very rare 16 GB model. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, however, is noted as having just 8 GB of RAM.
Only 8.
Yep. The source pointed out that this 8 GB on the iPhone could potentially limit its multitasking capabilities compared to the 12 GB available on the S25 Ultra. Storage options were the same for both, though. 256 GB, 512 GB, and 1 TB.
Okay. In terms of real-world use and optimization, what did the source say?
Well, it said the S25 Ultra handled demanding games like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves and multitasking particularly well, noting better thermal management. So less throttling, perhaps.
That's good for gamers.
The iPhone was praised for its fluid feel, largely attributed to iOS optimization and something called the Metal API, which helps with smooth gaming performance. The review even mentioned the argument that, Apple's optimization can sometimes matter more than just raw spec power.
A classic Apple argument, yeah.
And a point relevant for long-term value is software support. The source states Samsung is offering 7 years of OS and security updates for the S25 Ultra. That's a strong commitment.
7 years is huge.
It really is. Apple, by comparison, typically offers updates for around 5 years for its devices, though this isn't always an explicitly guaranteed number like Samsung's promise now.
Got it. So, based on the source's performance analysis, the S25 Ultra gets the nod for raw power, more RAM, and that longer update guarantee.
Seems like it.
But the iPhone 16 Pro Max is recognized for feeling incredibly fluid thanks to iOS optimization. So what this section asks you to think about is, do you value maximum raw power and guaranteed long-term updates? Or is that famously smooth, optimized feel of iOS within its specific tasks more important for your daily experience?
It's a core difference in philosophy, really. Okay, cameras, always a huge focus for flagship phones, and this review dedicated significant time here.
Let's hear it.
The S25 Ultra comes with a versatile quad camera system. We're talking a massive 200MP main sensor, a 50MP ultra-wide, and 2 telephoto lenses, a 50MP with 5x optical zoom, and another 10MP with 3x optical zoom, plus a 12MP front camera.
Wow, that's a lot of lenses. The source highlighted several strengths for the S25 Ultra's camera setup, right? Like its incredible zoom capabilities, 3x, 5x, and particularly that 10x hybrid zoom capability.
Right, the versatility.
Its ability to capture detail, good low-light performance, an improved 50MP ultra-wide, and enhancements from Samsung's ProVisual engine. The review also mentioned the addition of low-OG video support for videographers.
But there were weaknesses noted, too.
Yeah, a tendency for colors to look overly saturated sometimes, and apparently dark previews in low-light conditions before you take the shot.
Okay. On the iPhone side, the 16 Pro Max features a triple camera setup, a 48MP main, a 48MP ultra-wide, and a 12MP telephoto offering 5x optical zoom. It also has a 12MP front camera.
So fewer lenses, less native optical zoom range? What did the review praise about the iPhone camera?
Consistency, user-friendliness, and especially its natural-looking colors in daylight photos. That's often an Apple strength. Its video capabilities were called out as excellent, with best-in-class stabilization and HDR processing, apparently. The source also found its night mode to be strong.
But weaknesses? There must have been some.
There were. Struggles with focus stability when using the 5x zoom, a tendency for night shots to have an overly warm tone, the lack of a second telephoto obviously limits zoom versatility compared to the S25 Ultra.
Makes sense.
And the source felt some shots just lacked the ultimate sharpness seen on the S25 Ultra.
Interesting. What about AI camera features? That's big now.
Definitely. The S25 Ultra has a suite of AI tools like generative edit for filling in photo gaps, audio eraser for videos, object removal, stuff like that.
Galaxy AI stuff.
Exactly. The iPhone has Apple Intelligence Cleanup, but the source explicitly stated this was still in beta and seemed less advanced or ready than Samsung's AI tools, at least as of the review.
Okay, so Samsung's further ahead on the AI camera tricks right now.
According to the source, yeah.
So based on the source's findings, the S25 Ultra appears to win on camera versatility, particularly its zoom range, up to 10x, and its more mature AI editing suite.
Right.
The iPhone 16 Pro Max, however, was noted as better for video quality stabilization and audio and providing more natural, true-to-life colors straight out of the camera in daylight, alongside its renowned ease of use.
So that comparison asks you to figure out what kind of mobile photographer or videographer you are. Is advanced zoom and AI creativity your priority, or is top-tier video and natural color reproduction more important?
Another key decision point.
For sure. Let's look at the software experience and the state of AI on these phones, which the review spent considerable time on. The S25 Ultra runs Android 15 with Samsung's One UI 7 layered on top.
And how was that described?
The review described One UI 7 as highly customizable, highlighting useful features like the Now bar for quick actions and Now brief for summaries, plus convenient cross-app actions like being able to find restaurants and directly text them to someone right from the search result. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that sounds handy. The iPhone 16 Pro Max ships with iOS 18.2, featuring Apple Intelligence, which, as you said, the source noted, is currently in beta.
Right.
The review characterized iOS as highly polished, but generally less customizable than Android, with expected Siri improvements still slated for later release. So still waiting on some of that AI promise.
Exactly. And a key takeaway from the source on AI maturity was the contrast between the two. Galaxy AI on the S25 Ultra was described as polished and ready for consumers now.
Like usable out of the box.
Pretty much. Features like the personal data engine for privacy, complex multi-app commands, and generative editing for photos and videos were available and functioning well, with Samsung committing to keep these generative AI features free through at least 2025.
That free part is interesting, too.
It is. Apple Intelligence, by comparison, was called less mature in the review. Features like cleanup and basic assistant tasks were still in beta and, according to the source, seem to be lagging behind Galaxy AI's current capabilities.
Okay, so AI advantage. Samsung, at least for now.
Seems so. The source also heavily factored in the ecosystems these phones belong to.
The walled garden versus the less walled garden.
Sort of, yeah. The S25 Ultra integrates with Samsung's own devices like the Galaxy Watch and Buds, but the review found this integration generally less seamless or, sticky than Apple's ecosystem.
Right.
The iPhone offers deep, smooth integration across Apple Watch, AirPods, Mac, and iPad. The review specifically called out iMessage and FaceTime as significant exclusive draws for users within the Apple world.
Can't argue with that ecosystem lock-in
Yeah.
or benefit, depending how you see it.
Exactly. So based on this review, the S25 Ultra takes the lead for cutting-edge, ready-to-use AI features and the sheer level of software customization available. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, on the other hand, wins if you're prioritizing deep, effortless ecosystem integration, particularly if you're already invested in other Apple products.
So this section prompts you to ask yourself, how much do you value seamlessness across all your devices versus having the most advanced available AI features and the ability to customize your phone's interface extensively?
Another big one. Okay, battery life and how quickly you can juice up your phone. Always practical concerns, and the review compared these directly.
Let's hear the numbers.
The S25 Ultra is equipped with a 5,000 mAh battery. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a slightly smaller battery, estimated by the source to be around 492 mAh.
Okay, pretty close on paper. How did they last?
When it came to endurance, the source had interesting findings. The S25 Ultra was good for simple tasks like voice calls, but surprisingly trailed the iPhone significantly in web browsing and video playback tests.
Really? Even with the bigger battery?
Apparently so. The iPhone excelled in these areas, matching the S25 Ultra only when running demanding games. The review attributed this difference largely to Apple's superior software optimization.
Optimization strikes again.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
For charging, the S25 Ultra supports faster wired charging at 45W compared to the iPhone's estimated 30W.
Okay, faster plug-in charging for Samsung.
Right. For wireless charging, both support 15W QI2, but the review noted the S25 Ultra needs a compatible case for full QI2 benefits and lacks the native magnetic alignment found on the iPhone's MagSafe.
Ah, so MagSafe is still an iPhone convenience advantage there.
Yep. The source's takeaway here is that the iPhone 16 Pro Max generally wins on battery endurance in typical tasks like browsing and video playback because of that strong optimization.
Got it.
The S25 Ultra, however, is the winner if you prioritize how quickly you can recharge using a cable with its faster wired charging speed.
So for you, the listener, the question this comparison poses: do you need your phone to last as long as possible during specific activities like streaming video? Or is being able to quickly top it up when you're near an outlet more important?
It depends on your usage patterns, really. Finally, let's look at the cost and perceived value, according to the source.
The bottom line, the S25 Ultra has a higher starting price, right? Coming in at $1,299 for the base 256GB model.
Correct. The iPhone 16 Pro Max starts slightly lower at $1,199 for its 256GB version.
Okay, $100 difference at the start. What about higher storage?
Stepping up, the S25 Ultra is $4,419 for 512GB and $1,659 for 1TB. The iPhone's upgrades are priced differently: $1,399 for 512GB and $1,599 for 1TB.
So iPhone's higher storage tiers are actually slightly less expensive than the S25 Ultras, according to the source.
Interesting. But the review heavily factored in potential deals, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Samsung often offers aggressive promotions like up to $900 off with trade-ins and complimentary storage upgrades during pre-order periods, meaning you might get the 512GB model for the 256GB price, that kind of thing.
Those pre-order deals can be really good.
Definitely. Apple's deals are typically more modest, the source said, around $650 off with a trade-in.
So less aggressive there.
This leads to an interesting point about the value proposition presented in the review. The S25 Ultra offers more base RAM, the S Pen, and that longer 7-year software support guarantee, but starts at a higher sticker price.
Yeah. The iPhone is initially cheaper, but upgrading storage costs proportionally more, and you get less RAM. The source argues that Samsung's potential deals can significantly shift the equation, making the S25 Ultra potentially more cost-effective overall depending on when and how you buy.
That makes sense. Timing matters.
And the iPhone's value proposition is also tied to its ecosystem and optimization, which might justify the cost for those already deep in the Apple world.
So the source's conclusion on value: who wins?
It gives the S25 Ultra the edge for its overall feature set relative to its potential price, especially when factoring in typical deals.
Okay.
But the iPhone 16 Pro Max is deemed better value if you are firmly within the Apple ecosystem and really leverage those integrated benefits.
Right. This pushes you to think beyond the sticker price. How do you factor in the value of included features like the S Pen, the long-term guarantee of updates, and potential savings through deals versus the value you get from seamless integration with your existing tech universe?
It's not just about the upfront cost. So, to bring it all together, this deep dive into the source review reveals two incredibly capable phones, each with a very distinct strength.
According to the review, the S25 Ultra's key advantages lie in its superior display, brighter and better outdoors, its more versatile camera, particularly for zoom and AI editing, its more mature and available AI features, more RAM, that long 7-year software support commitment, the included S Pen, faster wired charging, and potentially better trade-in deals. Quite a list.
It is. And the same review highlights the iPhone 16 Pro Max's strengths as its excellent video quality and stabilization, more natural daylight photos, superior battery life in web browsing and video playback, its deeply seamless Apple ecosystem integration.
Yeah, forget that.
A slightly lower starting price, and highly optimized performance for iOS tasks.
Okay, but the source is clear that neither phone is perfect. It points out the trade-offs, right?
Absolutely. It mentions for the S25 Ultra, potentially sharp edges, colors can sometimes be oversaturated, and it lacks native MagSafe. For the iPhone, the camera is less versatile, its AI is lagging behind, and it have less RAM. Both are premium devices, and choosing one means accepting certain compromises, as described in the review.
No perfect phone yet.
Not according to this source, no. The review provides guidance on who each phone is worth it for. It says you should consider the S25 Ultra if you prioritize camera versatility and zoom, advanced AI features, display quality, software customization, or if you are an Android user, a serious mobile photographer, or someone who specifically wants the S Pen.
So the power user, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. The source sees it as a strong, long-term investment with its deals and support.
And the iPhone.
You should lean towards the iPhone 16 Pro Max if you are already committed to the Apple ecosystem and rely heavily on features like iMessage and FaceTime, if top-tier video quality is your absolute priority. Or if you simply prefer the polished, user-friendly iOS experience and its strong battery efficiency in key tasks. The review positions it as the best fit for iOS loyalists.
Makes sense. Stick with your team, maybe.
The source really drove home the point that your existing ecosystem plays a massive role in this decision. It's not just about the phone in isolation.
Definitely. Ultimately, the source's final verdict is that the S25 Ultra edges out slightly as the better all-around device, based on its camera versatility, advanced AI, broader display, and longer support. But it immediately qualifies it by stating the iPhone is definitively better for video, ecosystem integration, and battery life in certain uses. So it's close.
Very close. The review concludes the choice really hinges on whether you value the flexibility and features found in the Android-based S25 Ultra or the polished and integrated ecosystem experience of the iPhone 16 Pro Max.
So no single easy answer, as usual with these things.
Pretty much. This deep dive into one specific review comparing these two top phones really highlights something fundamental about the state of flagship technology right now, I think.
Absolutely. And it leads to a final thought for you listening. Knowing that even the absolute best, most expensive devices on the market, according to this source, involve significant, acknowledged trade-offs and aren't the perfect device. How does understanding those specific compromises change how you think about deciding what features are truly your priority versus how deeply you want to be integrated into a particular tech ecosystem?
It's a complex balance, isn't it? And the answer is definitely different for everyone.
Food for thought. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the source material, comparing the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max.
We hope this analysis of the review's findings has given you valuable insights and facts to consider.
Until next time.